A decorated cop, an elderly black man, a bag of drugs that appeared from nowhere. What should have been a routine afternoon outside an elementary school became the moment that exposed a system built on lies. But Officer Colin Mercer made one fatal mistake. He didn't know who he was framing. And the man sitting calmly in those handcuffs, he'd sent men like Mercer to prison for 30 years. This is the story of the frame-up that destroyed itself. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and stay with us until the very end, because this story takes turns you won't see coming. Drop a comment with your city so we can see how far justice travels. Now, let's begin. Badge number 2847. I want you to remember that number. Elijah Turner said it calmly as the handcuffs locked around his wrists. Officer Colin Mercer yanked his arms harder than necessary. You threatening me, old man? No, son. I'm giving you a chance to walk away. From what a clean bust. Mercer spun him toward the patrol car. You're done. What Mercer didn't know, what his 12 years on the force hadn't prepared him for, was that Elijah Turner had put away 14 corrupt officers during his 30 years as a 3rd District Court judge, and every single one had made the same mistake, underestimating him. Check your dash cam when you get back, Elijah said. Frame 47 to 53, your left hand. Watch it carefully. Mercer's grip faltered for half a second. Move. 15 minutes earlier, Elijah sat in his '98 Honda Accord outside Lakewood Elementary, 2:47 p.m. The pickup bell rang at 3:00. His granddaughter Maya had 2nd grade art class until then. The knock on his window came hard and fast. Elijah kept both hands on the steering wheel. Visible. 10 and 2. License and registration. The officer was white, mid-30s, buzz cut. Name tag, Mercer. Is there a problem, officer? License and registration. Now. Elijah announced every movement. I'm reaching for my wallet in my back right pocket. Then, opening the glove compartment for my registration. He'd taught his son these exact words 20 years ago. His grandson last year. Survival tactics for black men in America. Mercer snatched the documents, studied them with exaggerated intensity. What are you doing here? Waiting for my granddaughter. She attends school here. Maya Turner. 2nd grade. Mrs. Patterson's class. What? You're waiting for a child. Elijah's blood went cold. He recognized that tone, that implication. He'd heard it in his courtroom 100 times the moment before an officer twisted facts into narrative. My granddaughter, Elijah repeated carefully. I pick her up every Tuesday. Have for 2 years. You can verify with the school office. Step out of the vehicle. Officer, under what probable cause? Step out. Now. Elijah complied. 72 years old. 5'9", 160 pounds, khakis and cardigan, reading glasses on a chain. And black. That was all Mercer needed. Hands on the hood. Across the street, parents started gathering. Some held phones up, recording. Mercer's pat-down was thorough and aggressive. Then he moved to the car, and Elijah watched through the windshield as everything changed. Mercer opened the passenger door, leaned in. His left hand dipped into his pocket. Quick, practiced. Then his hand disappeared into the gap between the passenger seat and center console. Elijah had reviewed thousands of hours of police footage. He knew a plant when he saw one. Well, well, well. Mercer emerged holding a small plastic bag. White powder. What do we have here? Parents gasped. Phones lifted higher. That's not mine. They all say that. Mercer grabbed his arm, spun him around. The handcuffs bit into his wrists. Officer, you just planted that evidence. Your dash cam recorded everything. Mercer's hands stopped moving for a fraction of a second. Then he recovered, smiled. You're under arrest for possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney." The school bell cut through the air. Children poured out. Backpacks bouncing, laughter. Then Maya saw him. Her face went from joy to confusion to horror in 3 seconds. "Papa!" She started running. Her teacher grabbed her, held her back. Maya screamed, fought against the grip. "Papa! Papa!" "It's okay, sweetheart." Elijah forced his voice steady, even as something shattered inside him. "Papa's okay. Mrs. Chen is calling your mama. I love you. Everything's going to be fine." But Maya was sobbing now, and Elijah thought 30 years. 30 years I fought to protect children from trauma. And now I'm causing it. Mercer shoved him toward the patrol car. "Move it, Grandpa." Inside the vehicle, Elijah closed his eyes and took inventory. The plant had been clean, professional, practiced. Mercer had done this before, but the dash cam, the angle was perfect, too perfect. Mercer had parked facing Elijah's Honda directly, standard procedure, which meant the camera had recorded everything. Elijah opened his eyes and studied Mercer's reflection in the rearview mirror. The officer was smiling, confident. "You know what I think." Mercer adjusted the mirror so their eyes met. "I think you've been dealing outside that school for months. Nice cover, right, old guy, friendly face. Nobody suspects. Your dashcam footage will prove otherwise. My dashcam shows a lawful search and seizure. Shows me finding cocaine in your vehicle. Open and shut. Shows you reaching into your own pocket first." The car swerved slightly. Mercer's jaw tightened. "You want to make accusations against a decorated officer that's not going to help your case. I don't need to make accusations. The video does that for me. Frame 47 to 53. Your left hand enters your pocket at frame 47. Emerges at frame 49. Disappears into my passenger seat at frame 51. Reappears with the bag at frame 53. 2-second plant. Textbook." Mercer pulled the car over hard, threw it into park, turned in his seat. "You think you're smart? I think I'm accurate. Let me tell you something, old man. I've been doing this job for 12 years. I've put away dealers, gangbangers, murderers. I know how this works. You want to fight this, fine, but that footage shows exactly what I say it shows. And my report will back it up. And so will every officer in my department. Every officer in your department. That's right. Including Officer Banks, the rookie who was watching from the second patrol car." Mercer's expression flickered. "Banks knows what he saw. Does he? Or does he know what you'll tell him he saw? You're done talking." Mercer started driving again, but Elijah had seen it. The crack in the confidence, the moment of uncertainty. This wasn't Mercer's first plant, but it might be his first time getting caught. The booking station intake took 43 minutes. Fingerprints, photographs, property inventory. The machinery of the justice system that Elijah had overseen for 3 decades now processing him like any other criminal. The booking officer was professional efficient. She didn't make eye contact. Personal effects: 1 wallet, 1 phone, 1 keyring. Sign here. Elijah signed. "You'll be held pending arraignment. That'll be Monday morning. Judge Howard presiding." Howard retired last year. The officer looked up. "How did you?" "I'm Judge Elijah Turner, 3rd District Court. I retired 6 months ago. Judge Howard retired before me. The current duty judge for Tuesday bookings is Judge Patricia Chen." The officer stared at him. Her pen stopped moving. "You're..." Judge Turner was. "Oh my God." She looked at the charge sheet, then back at him. "Possession with intent. That's planted evidence. Officer Mercer. Badge 2847. Check his dashcam footage. I can tell you exactly which frames show the plant." The booking officer's face went pale. She glanced toward the hallway, then back at her paperwork. "I need to get my supervisor." "Please do." She left. Elijah sat alone in the processing room. The clock on the wall read 4:17 p.m. Maya would be home by now, crying, asking questions. "Papa, why did the police take you? Are you bad? Are you going to jail?" The door opened. A lieutenant entered. Late 50s, gray hair, bars on his collar. Career cop. "Mr. Turner, I'm Lieutenant Carson. I understand you're making some serious allegations." "Not allegations. Facts. Your officer planted cocaine in my vehicle. I watched him do it. Your dash cam recorded it. I can give you exact frame numbers." Carson studied him for a long moment. "You're really Judge Turner?" "Yes." "Jesus." Carson pulled up a chair. "Okay, walk me through it." Elijah did. Every detail. The timing, the hand movement, the 2-second window, the angle of the dash cam. Carson listened without interrupting. When Elijah finished, the lieutenant sat back. "Those are very specific details. I reviewed thousands of hours of police footage during my career. I know what a clean search looks like. I know what a plant looks like. This was a plant. If what you're saying is true, it is. Then Officer Mercer committed a felony, evidence tampering, false arrest, deprivation of rights under color of law. That's federal. He'd be looking at 10 to 20. "I know. I sentenced men for it." Carson rubbed his face. "I'll review the footage personally." "When?" "Tonight." "Will you, or will it disappear first?" The lieutenant's eyes hardened. "I'm not dirty judge." "I didn't say you were, but Mercer isn't working alone. Plants this clean require practice, coverage, someone writing reports that match his story." Elijah leaned forward. "How many other arrests has Mercer made in the last year? How many involved drugs found during traffic stops? How many went to trial versus pleading out?" Carson didn't answer. "Check the pattern," Elijah continued. "I'm guessing you'll find at least a dozen similar cases. All traffic stops, all drugs found in vehicles, all defendants who couldn't afford good lawyers, all convictions." "You're speculating." "I'm analyzing. It's what I did for 30 years. Elijah held his gaze. "And I'm guessing I'm right." Carson stood. "I'll review the footage, tonight. You have my word." The word of a police officer to a man your department just arrested for drugs outside an elementary school. Elijah's voice was soft, but cut like a blade. "Forgive me if I don't find that comforting." Carson's jaw tightened. "I'll call you personally once I've reviewed it." "I don't have my phone. You confiscated it." "Then I'll call your attorney." "I haven't been allowed to make a phone call yet." The lieutenant pulled out his own cell phone. "Make it now." Marcus arrived 37 minutes later. Elijah heard him before he saw him, his son's voice echoing through the station hallways. "You arrested a retired judge. Are you out of your minds? Do you have any idea?" "Dad." Marcus rushed into the holding area. 46 years old, 3-piece suit, fury written across every line of his face. "I'm okay, son." "You're not okay. Maya is home crying. Celeste is trying to explain to a 7-year-old why her grandfather was arrested. And I'm standing in a police station because some cop decided to—" Marcus's voice cracked. "What happened?" "Not here. Get me out first." Marcus turned to Lieutenant Carson. "What are the charges?" "Possession of a controlled substance with intent to distribute." "Based on what evidence?" 3.7 grams of cocaine found in the defendant's vehicle during a lawful search. "Defendant." Marcus's voice rose. "You mean retired Judge Elijah Turner, the same judge who put away the Riverside cartel, who prosecuted the Santos corruption case." "That defendant." Carson's expression didn't change. "The law applies to everyone." "You're absolutely right. It does." Marcus pulled out his phone. which is why I'm filing a motion for immediate release on recognizance, a motion to preserve all dashcam and body camera footage, and a formal complaint against the arresting officer for evidence tampering and civil rights violations under 42 U.S.C. 1983. You're filing what? Mercer's voice came from the doorway. He stood there, arms crossed, smirking. Good luck with that. Marcus turned slowly. You're Officer Mercer. That's right. Badge 2847. That's right. You're going to prison. Mercer laughed. For what? Doing my job. For planting evidence, for false arrest, for deprivation of rights under color of law. Marcus stepped closer. That's 10 to 20 federal. And when I'm done, you won't just lose your badge, you'll lose everything. Big talk from a defense attorney whose daddy just got caught with coke. My daddy. Marcus's voice went deadly quiet. My daddy put 14 dirty cops in prison. You want to be number 15? The room went silent. Carson stepped between them. That's enough. Marcus, your father, is being released on his own recognizance. The charges are pending further investigation. What investigation? Dash cam review. I want a copy of that footage, tonight. That's evidence in an ongoing... I want a copy, tonight. Or I'm filing an emergency motion with Judge Chen at her home, and she will grant it, and then we'll discuss why you made me waste her evening. Marcus pulled out his business card, slapped it on Carson's desk. You have 2 hours. In Marcus's car, Elijah finally let himself breathe. The dashcam footage. If they review it honestly? They won't, Marcus said flatly. Carson seems... I don't care how he seems. He's a cop. They protect their own. Marcus's hands were white-knuckled on the steering wheel. We need that footage before it disappears. How we're not law enforcement. We can't just... Marcus's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, then answered. Sarah, tell me something good. He listened, and his expression shifted from anger to surprise. Are you serious? When? Pause. No, don't touch anything. I'm coming to you. He hung up. What? Elijah asked. That was Sarah Chen, Assistant DA. She's prosecuting a case that involves Officer Mercer's arrest reports from 3 months ago. She just pulled the files to prep for trial. Marcus's voice was tight. Dad, the reports are identical, word for word. 3 different arrests, 3 different suspects, same exact language, same sequence of events, same script. What? Elijah's mind was racing. They're using a template, a script. When you make enough false arrests, you can't keep the stories straight. So you write one good report and copy it. Change the names, dates, locations. But the language stays the same. That's proof of systematic corruption. If Sarah found 3 identical reports, there are probably dozens more. Elijah turned to his son. How many cases has Mercer been involved with in the last 2 years? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Marcus turned the car around. Where are we going? Sarah's office. We're pulling every arrest report with Mercer's name on it. Tonight. Marcus's jaw set. If they want to play dirty, we'll show them what dirty really looks like. At 9:47 p.m., Elijah's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Judge Turner. The voice was young, nervous, whispering. This is Officer Trevor Banks, from the station. I was at your arrest. I remember. I shouldn't be calling. If anyone finds out... His voice shook. But I can't stay quiet anymore. What did you see, Officer Banks? Everything. I saw him plant it. I've seen him do it before. Banks took a shaky breath. There are others. At least 4 officers who do this regularly. They call themselves gatekeepers. They protect each other, write each other's reports, cover each other's plants. Elijah's pulse quickened. Do you have proof? I might. The dashcam footage from your arrest, it's scheduled to be reviewed tomorrow morning by Lieutenant Carson. but I heard Mercer talking to someone after shift. He said the footage would be handled. Handled how? I don't know. But Judge Turner, if that footage disappears, can you get a copy before tomorrow? Long silence. I could try. The files are stored on a local server. If I access them tonight? Banks's voice dropped even lower. If I get caught, I'm done. Career over. Maybe worse. Then don't do it. Don't risk yourself for me. It's not just for you. Banks's voice cracked. Last month, Mercer planted drugs on a 19-year-old kid. Kid had a full scholarship to state. Now he's sitting in county jail because he couldn't make bail. His public defender told him to plead out. Take 3 years. 3 years for a crime he didn't commit because I didn't say anything. Elijah closed his eyes. How many lives had Mercer destroyed? How many other officers like him were out there planting evidence, destroying futures? If you can get that footage safely, I'll try. But Judge Turner, you need to know something else. Banks's voice turned urgent. Mercer bragged about your arrest, said he finally got you. Like he'd been waiting for a chance. Waiting for... What do you mean? He knows who you are. He's known the whole time. He said you put his training officer away 10 years ago. Officer Dan Reeves. Sentenced him to 15 years for evidence tampering. The name hit Elijah like a punch. Dan Reeves. He remembered the case. Remembered the officer's face when the verdict came down. Remembered the hatred in his eyes. Mercer was Reeves's rookie. Banks continued. He learned everything from him, and he's been waiting for a chance to get back at you. This wasn't a random arrest. This was revenge. Officer Banks, Elijah said carefully, if you get that footage, don't bring it to me. Take it to my son, Marcus Turner. He's an attorney. He'll know what to do with it legally. I'll try. I can't promise. The sound of a door opening. Voices in the background. I have to go. The line went dead. Elijah sat in the darkness of his living room phone still pressed to his ear. Marcus emerged from the kitchen laptop under his arm. Who was that? A man making a choice. What? Nothing. What did you find? Marcus opened the laptop. 17 cases. 17 arrests made by Officer Mercer in the last 18 months. All traffic stops. All resulted in drug charges. 12 of them have reports with identical language. He turned the screen toward his father. Dad, look at this paragraph. It's the same in all 12 cases, word for word. Elijah read, upon visual inspection of the vehicle interior, I observed in plain view a clear plastic bag containing a white powdery substance in the space between the passenger seat and center console. Based on my training and experience, I recognized this substance as consistent with cocaine. I recovered the evidence and field tested it, which returned a presumptive positive result for cocaine. Plain view, Elijah murmured. That's the legal magic phrase. If it's in plain view, the search is constitutional. No warrant needed. Except it wasn't in plain view. He planted it. We know that, but proving it. The dash cam. If it still exists tomorrow. Marcus closed the laptop. Sarah's filing a motion first thing in the morning. Emergency preservation order. If they destroy that footage after being put on notice. They'll do it tonight, before the order comes through. Then Elijah's phone buzzed. Text message. Unknown number. Got it. Uploading now. Banks. Elijah's hands shook as he opened the link. A file transfer. Loading. 87%. Dad? What is it? The footage. Banks got the footage. 93%. 97%. Complete. Elijah clicked play. The video opened with Mercer's dashcam view. Crystal clear. Date and timestamp today. 2:47 p.m. There was Elijah's Honda, parked, peaceful. Mercer approached, knocked on the window. The conversation. The order to exit. The pat-down. Then Mercer moved to the passenger door, opened it, leaned in. "There," Elijah whispered. Frame 47. Mercer's left hand dipped into his pocket, emerged with something small, moved toward the center console. Frame 51. The hand disappeared between the seats. Frame 53. The hand emerged holding the plastic bag. Marcus stared at the screen, his face pale. "We have him." "We have him," Elijah confirmed. Then his phone rang again. Banks. "Judge Turner." The young officer's voice was panicked. "The file. Someone's trying to delete it from the server, right now. I can see the deletion command running. They're erasing everything." "We already downloaded it. We have a copy." "No, you don't understand. They're not just deleting the file. They're wiping the entire day's footage. All of it. Every dash cam, every body cam. The whole system." Banks was breathing hard. "And they're doing it remotely. I'm watching it happen and I can't stop it." Who's doing it?" "I don't know, but whoever it is has administrator access, and they're good." The sound of typing. "Judge Turner, they just accessed my login. They know I copied the file. They know—" The line went dead. Elijah tried calling back, straight to voicemail. He looked at Marcus. "We need to get this footage to someone outside the department, now, before they come for it." "Who, the DA's office?" "No, they'll claim chain of custody issues. We need media. We need this public before they can bury it." Marcus was already dialing. "I know someone at Channel 7, investigative reporter. She's done police corruption stories before." While Marcus talked, Elijah stared at his phone. At the video file that showed the truth. Somewhere in the police station, someone with administrator access was erasing evidence. Someone powerful enough to wipe an entire day's worth of police footage. The gatekeepers. They'd been operating in the shadows for years, protecting dirty cops, destroying evidence, and now they knew Trevor Banks had betrayed them. Elijah's phone buzzed. Another text. Banks's number. "They're coming for me. Whatever happens, don't let this be for nothing." Then, "Check locker 847, station basement, more evidence. Password Reeves." The phone went dark. Elijah tried calling. No answer. He tried texting. Undeliverable. The number had been disconnected. "Marcus." His son looked up from his call. "We need to go to the station. Now." "What? Why?" "Because Officer Banks just risked everything to get us this footage, and now they're going to silence him." Elijah grabbed his jacket. "And we're the only ones who know." Marcus was already halfway to the door when Elijah caught his arm. "Wait. If we go charging in there now, they'll arrest us for interfering with an investigation, or trespassing, or anything they can think of. So we just leave Banks to—" "We don't leave him, we think." Elijah pulled out his phone, opened the video file. "First we secure this. Upload it somewhere they can't touch. Cloud storage, multiple copies, different platforms." Marcus grabbed his laptop. "On it. Give me 2 minutes." While his son worked, Elijah paced. Trevor Banks had risked everything. Career safety, maybe his life. And for what a rookie cop with a conscience going up against a system that had been corrupt for decades. Done. Marcus closed the laptop. 3 copies. Cloud email encrypted drive. They can't erase all of them. Good. Now we need someone inside the station. Someone we can trust. "You know any cops we can trust?" Elijah thought for a moment, then dialed. The phone rang 4 times before a woman's voice answered. "Hello. Officer Williams, this is Judge Turner. We spoke earlier during my release." Silence. Then, "Judge, it's almost midnight. How did you get this number?" "It's on the business card you gave me. You wrote your personal cell on the back." More silence. "I shouldn't have done that." "But you did, because you knew something was wrong." Elijah kept his voice gentle. "Officer Williams, I need your help. It's about Officer Banks." "Banks? What about him?" "He's in danger. He copied my dashcam footage and sent it to me. Now his phone's been disconnected, and someone with administrator access is wiping the entire day's footage from the server. Williams swore softly. Are you sure? He called me 15 minutes ago, said they were coming for him, then his number went dead. Where are you right now? Home, but I'm about to drive to the station. Don't. Her voice turned sharp. Do not come here. If Banks really did what you're saying, the last thing you need is to be seen anywhere near this building. But if he's in trouble, then I'll check on him. Give me 10 minutes, I'll call you back. The line went dead. Marcus looked at his father. You think she'll really help? I think she's a good cop in a bad department, and I think she's tired of looking the other way. Elijah sat down heavily. But I also think we might already be too late. 7 minutes passed. Then Williams called back. Banks isn't here. What do you mean he isn't there? His shift ended at 9. He clocked out, but his car's still in the parking garage. Keys still in his locker. Wallet still in his locker. Phone's gone, but everything else is here. Elijah's stomach dropped. People don't leave their wallets and keys behind. No, they don't. Williams's voice was tight. Judge, what exactly did Banks tell you? That he saw Mercer plant evidence. That there's a group called the Gatekeepers protecting corrupt officers. That... Elijah hesitated. He told me to check locker 847 in the station basement. Password Reeves. Williams was quiet for a long moment. Locker 847. That's in the old evidence storage area. It's been decommissioned for 5 years. Can you access it? Technically, no. That area's restricted. Only senior officers have keys. But I know where the master key is kept, and I know the security cameras in that section have been broken for 3 years, and nobody's bothered to fix them. A pause. If I do this, I'm putting my career on the line. I know. And if I get caught, you'll be in the same position as Banks, I know. Elijah closed his eyes. Officer Williams, I'm not asking you to be a hero. I'm asking you to do what's right, but only if you can live with the consequences. Another long silence. Then, give me 20 minutes. Don't call this number again. If I find something, I'll contact you through a secure channel. She hung up. Marcus stared at his father. Did you just recruit a cop to commit breaking and entering? I recruited a cop to access police property she's technically authorized to access. Elijah managed a weak smile. There's a difference. Not legally. Maybe not, but morally, absolutely. They waited. 20 minutes felt like 20 hours. Elijah checked his phone every 30 seconds. Nothing. Then at 12:47 a.m. an email arrived. Subject line from a friend. No message, just an attachment, a zip file. Password protected. Elijah tried Reeves. The file opened. Inside were scans. Dozens of them. Arrest reports, all with Mercer's name, all with identical language. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the signatures. Different suspects, different public defenders, different judges, all signed, all official, all fabricated. These arrests never went to trial, Marcus said, scrolling through the documents. They all pleaded out, every single one. Because their lawyers told them to. Because fighting it would mean going up against police testimony, police evidence, police credibility. Elijah felt sick. And these people couldn't afford real lawyers, couldn't afford investigators, couldn't afford to wait in jail for months while their cases wound through the system. So they took the deals. They took the deals. 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. For crimes they didn't commit. Elijah's hands shook. Marcus, how many lives did Mercer destroy? How many families? His son didn't answer. They both knew the number was too high to count. Another email. Same sender. Banks's car found. Bridge Road. Call 911 anonymous. Elijah's blood went cold. Bridge Road. That's near the river. Marcus was already grabbing his jacket. We need to go, now. William said to call 911 anonymous. Screw that. We're going. They made it to Bridge Road in 14 minutes. Marcus drove like a man possessed, running 2 red lights and hitting 70 in a 45 zone. The road was dark, no streetlights, trees on both sides. And there, pulled off onto the shoulder, was a patrol car, Unit 447, Banks's assigned vehicle. Marcus killed the headlights parked 50 yards back. Stay in the car, Dad. Not a chance. You're 72 years old. And I'm the reason that boy is in danger. I'm coming. They approached on foot. The patrol car was empty. Driver's door open. Headlights off. Radio silent. Banks? Marcus called out. Trevor Banks. Nothing. They moved past the car toward the bridge. It was an old structure, concrete and steel, spanning the river 60 feet below. There. A figure was slumped against the bridge railing, not moving. Elijah reached him first. Trevor Banks, face bloody, uniform torn, breathing shallow. Officer Banks. Trevor, can you hear me? Banks's eyes fluttered open. Judge? I'm here. What happened? They found out. 2 of them. Mercer and... Banks coughed, blood flecking his lips. And Detective Hayes. Told me to delete the file. I said I already sent it. Hayes hit me. Said I should have stayed quiet. Said I was going to regret this. We need to get you to a hospital. No hospitals. They'll finish it there. They have people everywhere. Banks grabbed Elijah's arm with surprising strength. The locker. Did you get? We got it. All of it. Williams came through. Banks smiled weakly. Williams is good people. So are you, son. Am I? Banks's eyes drifted. I watched Mercer do this for 6 months. 6 months I said nothing. All those people he arrested. I could have stopped it. You're stopping it now. Too late for them. Marcus knelt down beside them. Trevor, we need to move you. They might come back. Let them come. I'm done running. Banks's breath hitched. Judge Turner, you need to know something. About the gatekeepers. It's not just Mercer and Hayes. It's bigger. Captain Rodriguez, Sergeant Phillips. Even... He stopped, coughed again. Even who? Even some people in the DA's office. They make cases disappear. Evidence goes missing. Witnesses recant. Banks's voice was fading. They've been doing this for 10 years, maybe longer, and anyone who tries to stop them. A car engine roared in the distance, headlights cutting through the darkness. That's them, Banks whispered. Go. Take what you have and go public. Don't trust anyone in the department. We're not leaving you. You have to. If they catch you here, they'll say you attacked me. They'll spin this whole thing. You'll lose everything. Banks pushed against Elijah's chest weakly. Go. Marcus grabbed his father's arm. Dad, we need to move. Now. The headlights were getting closer. Elijah looked at Banks, at this young man who'd sacrificed everything for truth, and felt his heart tear in half. I won't let this be for nothing, Elijah said. I promise. They ran back to Marcus's car, got in. Marcus started the engine just as the approaching vehicle rounded the curve. It was a black SUV. No plates visible. Windows tinted. Get down, Marcus hissed. Elijah ducked. Through the side mirror, he watched the SUV pull up next to Banks's patrol car. 2 men got out. One was Mercer. The other was older, heavier, wearing detective's clothes. Hayes. They walked to where Banks sat slumped against the railing. You stupid kid. Hayes's voice carried on the night air. You had a future. Now you have nothing. I have my integrity, Banks said. That's more than you'll ever have. Integrity doesn't pay the bills. Mercer grabbed Banks by the collar, hauled him up. Where's the footage? Gone. Uploaded. Backed up. Already sent to the media. Banks smiled through bloody teeth. You're done. Hayes backhanded him. Banks went down hard. Marcus, Elijah whispered. Call 911. Now. His son was already dialing. 911, what's your emergency? Officer down. Bridge Road near the old Wilson Bridge. 2 suspects on scene. One is Officer Colin Mercer, badge 2847. The other is Detective Raymond Hayes. They're assaulting a fellow officer. Sir, did you say they're police officers? Yes, they're corrupt. They're trying to kill Officer Trevor Banks because he exposed them. Send units now, multiple units, and make sure they're not from the 3rd District. Marcus hung up. In the distance, sirens began to wail. Hayes heard them too. He grabbed Mercer's arm. We need to go, now. But the footage, forget the footage. We need an alibi. Move. They ran back to the SUV, peeled out, disappeared into the darkness. 30 seconds later, patrol cars arrived. 4 of them. Officers poured out weapons drawn, found Banks collapsed by the bridge railing. Officer down. We need paramedics. Marcus pulled back onto the road, drove away slowly. They were 3 blocks gone before Elijah could breathe again. Is he going to make it? Marcus's voice shook. I don't know. But we gave him a chance. That's more than he had 5 minutes ago. They drove in silence for a while. Then Elijah's phone rang. Williams. Banks is alive. Barely. They're taking him to St. Mary's. But Judge, you need to know something. The responding officers, they found his service weapon lying 15 feet from his body. Safety off. 1 round fired. Elijah's stomach turned. They're going to say he tried to kill himself. That's exactly what they're going to say. Despondent rookie. Couldn't handle the pressure. Shot himself. The whole narrative's already being written. But we saw. What did you see? From 300 yards away in the dark through a car mirror. William's voice was sad. Judge, I believe you. But belief isn't proof. And right now you're a man arrested for drugs accusing the officer who arrested you. How does that look? She was right. Elijah knew she was right. Every lawyer instinct he had was screaming that the optics were terrible. The dash cam footage, Elijah said. That's proof. Of the plant, yes, but not of what happened tonight at the bridge. Not of Hayes and Mercer assaulting Banks. Not of... Williams paused. Judge, the department is already preparing their statement. Officer Mercer performed a lawful search, found drugs, made an arrest. Officer Banks, who was friends with the suspect's family, stole evidence and attempted suicide when confronted. That's a lie. Of course it's a lie. But it's a lie that fits the evidence as the department will present it. Williams sighed. The only way you win this is if you go public. Tonight. Before they control the narrative. We already sent the footage to Channel 7. Then you need to call them now. Make sure they run it. Make sure it goes viral before the department can spin their version. Elijah looked at Marcus. His son nodded. I'm on it. Marcus called his contact at Channel 7, reporter named Jessica Huang, award-winning investigative journalist. She answered on the first ring. Marcus, it's 1 a.m. I have a story. Police corruption. Evidence planting. A system that's been destroying innocent lives for a decade. Marcus put the call on speaker. And I have video proof. Huang's voice shifted from sleepy to sharp. I'm listening. Marcus explained everything. The arrest, the plant, Banks, the identical reports, the gatekeepers, the attack at the bridge. When he finished, Huang was silent for a long moment. You're talking about bringing down an entire network of corrupt officers. Yes. This could destroy careers, end lives, start riots. Or it could restore faith in the justice system. Your choice. Another pause. Send me everything. I need to verify it. If it checks out, we'll run it on the morning broadcast, 6 a.m. That's 4.5 hours from now. I need time to corroborate, to contact sources, to protect myself legally. Marcus, if I run this and it's wrong, my career is over, so I need to be sure. You'll be sure, I promise. Marcus sent the files, the dashcam footage, the arrest reports, the photos Williams had forwarded. Then they waited. Time crawled. 1:30 a.m. became 2:00 a.m. became 3:00 a.m. At 3:47 a.m., Huang called back. I verified the arrest reports, contacted 3 of the suspects from Mercer's previous cases. 2 of them confirmed they were innocent, took plea deals because they couldn't afford to fight. Her voice was tight with anger. Marcus, this is Pulitzer-level corruption. We're running it. 6 a.m. Lead story. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Once this goes live, there's no taking it back. Your father will be in danger. You'll be in danger. Anyone associated with this story will have a target on their back. I know. And you're still doing this? Marcus looked at his father. Elijah nodded. We're still doing this. Then God help us all. At 5:30 a.m., Elijah's phone lit up. Text messages, dozens of them, from former colleagues, friends, people he hadn't spoken to in years. Channel 7. Are you watching? Elijah turned on the television. Channel 7. Jessica Huang stood in front of the police station, microphone in hand. Good morning. We begin today with an exclusive investigation into systemic corruption within the Metropolitan Police Department. What we're about to show you may shock you, but we believe the public has a right to know the truth. The screen cut to the dashcam footage. Crystal clear. Mercer approaching Elijah's car. The traffic stop. The order to exit the vehicle. Then, the critical moment. Mercer's hand dipping into his pocket. Emerging with something. Moving to the center console. Reappearing with the bag. This is retired Judge Elijah Turner. Huang's voice continued over the footage. For 30 years, he served on the bench of the 3rd District Court. Yesterday afternoon, Officer Colin Mercer arrested him for drug possession. But as you can see from this dashcam footage, Officer Mercer planted the evidence. The footage replayed, slower this time, frame by frame. But Judge Turner's case is not an isolated incident. Our investigation has uncovered at least 17 similar arrests, all made by Officer Mercer, all involving planted evidence, all resulting in convictions or guilty pleas. The screen filled with arrest reports, names redacted, but the identical language highlighted in yellow. These reports are word-for-word identical, same phrases, same descriptions, same sequence of events, different people, different dates, same lies. Huang appeared on screen again. Behind her, police officers were entering the station heads down, avoiding cameras. We reached out to the Metropolitan Police Department for comment. They declined. We reached out to Officer Mercer. He declined. But we did speak with one officer who witnessed the corruption firsthand. The screen cut to an interview. Trevor Banks. Recorded earlier before the bridge. His face was serious, voice steady. I watched Officer Mercer plant evidence on multiple occasions. I watched him destroy lives. And I said nothing because I was afraid. Afraid of losing my job. Afraid of retaliation. But I can't stay silent anymore. The people deserve better. They deserve the truth. Back to Huang. Officer Banks attempted to expose this corruption yesterday evening. Hours later, he was found severely beaten near the Wilson Bridge. He's currently in critical condition at St. Mary's Hospital. The department claims he attempted suicide, but witnesses tell a different story. Witnesses, plural. Marcus looked at his father. Who else saw? Elijah's phone rang. Williams. Turn to Channel 9. They switched channels. Another news broadcast. Another reporter. Different angle. This one was interviewing other officers. Faces hidden. Voices distorted. But their stories were damning. I've seen the gatekeepers operate. They protect each other. They lie for each other. And if you cross them, your career is over. Or worse. Another officer. I wanted to report it, but who do you report to when the corruption goes all the way to the top? Channel 5 picked up the story. Then, Channel 11. By 6:30 a.m., every news station in the city was running it. The phone started ringing. Reporters, lawyers, former defendants wanting to know if their cases could be reopened. People Elijah had sentenced, now claiming their arresting officers had planted evidence. Marcus fielded the calls. Elijah just watched the news, watched his arrest play out on every screen, watched the system he'd served for 30 years crumble in real time. At 7:15 a.m., the police chief held a press conference. We take these allegations seriously. Officer Mercer has been placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation. We are committed to transparency and accountability. Committed to covering their asses, Elijah thought. But it was too late. The footage was everywhere. Viral. Millions of views in less than 2 hours. You can't bury the truth when it's everywhere. At 8:00 a.m., Marcus's phone rang. The DA's office. Mr. Turner, this is Assistant District Attorney Sarah Chen. I'm calling about your father's case. What about it? The charges have been dropped, effective immediately. We're also opening investigations into all of Officer Mercer's arrests for the past 3 years, and we'd like to speak with Judge Turner about serving as a special consultant during the investigation. Marcus looked at his father. Elijah shook his head. He'll consider it. But right now, he needs to visit someone in the hospital. They drove to St. Mary's in silence. The sun was rising. People were heading to work. Life was going on, but everything had changed. At the hospital, they found Banks's room. ICU. Critical condition, but alive. Elijah stood outside the door looking through the window at the young officer hooked up to machines. Breathing tube. Heart monitor. Police guard outside the door, but this time to protect him, not arrest him. A doctor approached. Are you family? No. But he saved my life, in a way. The doctor nodded. He's lucky. Severe concussion, fractured ribs, internal bleeding, but he'll survive. The bullet grazed his shoulder. If they'd aimed 2 inches to the left, bullet, from his own service weapon. Looks like someone tried to make it look like suicide. But the angle was wrong. Defensive wounds on his hands suggest he fought back. He's a fighter, that one. Elijah looked through the window again. Trevor Banks, 25 years old. Career destroyed. Life nearly ended. All because he chose truth over convenience. Can I go in? 5 minutes. He's heavily sedated, but he might hear you. Elijah entered the room quietly, sat in the chair beside the bed, took Banks's hand. Trevor, I don't know if you can hear me, but I want you to know you didn't do this for nothing. The story broke. Every news station is running it. Mercer's on administrative leave. The department's in chaos, and it's all because you had the courage to do what was right. Banks's eyes fluttered but didn't open. You're going to recover. And when you do, we're going to make sure you're protected. You're going to testify. You're going to help us bring down everyone involved in this. And then, Elijah's voice cracked. Then you're going to live the life you deserve. One where you can look in the mirror and be proud. A faint squeeze on his hand. Banks had hurt him. Elijah stayed for the full 5 minutes, then squeezed the young man's hand one more time, and left. In the hallway, Marcus was on the phone again. Dad, that was Judge Chen's clerk. Your arraignment was scheduled for Monday. But now, Marcus smiled. Now they want to issue a formal apology, in open court, with media present. I don't want an apology. I want systemic change. They're offering that too. Emergency hearing, next week. Review of all cases involving the officers identified in the reports. Possible exonerations. Compensation for wrongful convictions. It's not enough. I know, but it's a start. They walked out of the hospital together. The sun was fully up now. Cameras were waiting. Reporters shouting questions. Judge Turner, how does it feel to be vindicated? Judge Turner, will you sue the department? Judge Turner, what do you want to happen to Officer Mercer? Elijah stopped, looked at the cameras, took a breath. What I want is simple. I want justice. Real justice. Not the kind that depends on your race or your bank account. Not the kind that protects corruption because it's convenient. But the kind that treats every person, rich or poor, black or white, powerful or powerless, with equal respect under the law. He paused, looked directly into the camera. Officer Mercer planted evidence. He destroyed lives. And he did it because he thought he could get away with it. Because the system protected him. Because good officers stayed silent out of fear. Elijah's voice strengthened. But one officer didn't stay silent. Officer Trevor Banks risked everything to expose the truth. And now he's fighting for his life in a hospital bed. So what do I want? I want Officer Banks to be celebrated as the hero he is. I want every corrupt officer identified and prosecuted. And I want a system where speaking truth doesn't cost you everything. The reporters erupted with follow-up questions. But Elijah was done. He walked to Marcus's car, got in, and they drove away. His phone buzzed. Another text from Williams. Mercer just lawyered up. So did Hayes. So did 4 other officers. The gatekeepers are circling the wagons. This fight isn't over. It's just beginning. Elijah showed the text to Marcus. His son's jaw set. Good. Let them fight. We have truth on our side. Truth isn't always enough. Then we'll make it enough. Marcus pulled into their father's driveway. Dad, you spent 30 years on the bench. You know how this works. They're going to delay. Object. File motions. Try to drag this out until people stop paying attention. I know. So we don't let people stop paying attention. We keep the pressure on. We turn this into the trial of the century. Marcus turned to face his father. And we make sure that when it's over, no cop ever thinks they can get away with this again. Elijah looked at his son, brilliant, determined, righteous, and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope mixed with purpose. Monday morning, we start preparing. Full discovery. Witness lists, every piece of evidence. Elijah's voice was firm. They want to fight. We'll give them a war. Inside the house, Maya was waiting. She ran to him, threw her arms around his waist. Papa, I saw you on TV. They said you were right. They said the policeman was bad. Elijah knelt down, hugged his granddaughter tight. Yes, sweetheart. Sometimes even policemen make mistakes. Big mistakes. Very big mistakes. But we're going to fix them. Maya pulled back, looked at him seriously. You're not going to jail. No, baby. I'm not going to jail. Promise? Promise. She hugged him again, and Elijah closed his eyes, breathing in the scent of her strawberry shampoo, feeling her small heart beating against his chest. This was why it mattered. Not for him. For her. For every child who deserved to grow up in a world where justice was real, where truth mattered, where the system worked for everyone. His phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. Against his better judgment, he answered. Judge Turner. The voice was cold, controlled. This is Captain Rodriguez, 3rd District. One of the names Banks had mentioned, one of the gatekeepers. What do you want? I want you to understand something. You just declared war on people who've been winning this fight for a decade. You made us look bad on national television. You cost good officers their careers, and you think you've won. This isn't about winning. But you haven't won. You've just painted a target on your back, on your son's back, on your granddaughter's back. Rodriguez's voice dropped. Things happen, Judge. Accidents, tragedies. It would be a shame if... Are you threatening my family? I'm stating facts. The world is dangerous. You of all people should know that. The line went dead. Elijah stood there, phone in hand, blood roaring in his ears. They'd just threatened Maya. Marcus saw his father's face. "Dad, what is it?" "Get Celeste on the phone. Tell her to take Maya and stay with her parents, out of state, today." "What, why?" "Just do it. Now." Marcus didn't argue. He made the call. Elijah walked to his study, pulled open a drawer, and removed something he hadn't touched in 5 years. A gun. His service weapon from his days as a prosecutor before he became a judge. He checked the clip. Still loaded. He'd spent 30 years believing in the system. Believing that justice could be found through proper channels, through law and order and procedure. But the system had failed. The channels were corrupted. And now his family was in danger. Sometimes truth needed protection. And Elijah Turner was done being a victim. Marcus stared at the gun in his father's hand. "Dad, what are you doing?" "Protecting my family. By becoming what they are, by sinking to their level." They threatened Maya. Elijah's voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. "They threatened my granddaughter. I won't let them. And if you shoot someone, if you use that weapon, you give them exactly what they want. A reason to discredit you. A reason to say you're violent, unstable, dangerous." Marcus stepped closer. "Dad, you're a judge. You believe in the law. Don't throw that away now." Elijah looked at the gun, then at his son. Slowly, he set it down on the desk. "Then what do I do? Wait for them to hurt someone I love?" "No, we move faster than they can. We build a case so airtight they can't touch it. And we do it the right way." Marcus pulled out his phone. "I'm calling Bill Henderson, criminal defense attorney, best in the state. He owes me a favor. We don't need defense. We're not the ones on trial." "Not yet. But Rodriguez just made a threat, which means they're planning something. We need to be ready." Marcus dialed. "Bill, it's Marcus Turner. I need your help. Tonight." While Marcus talked, Elijah's phone buzzed again. "Williams." "Judge, you need to see this. I'm sending you something. Check your email." Elijah opened his laptop. A new email. Video attachment. He clicked play. Security footage. From inside the police station. Timestamp from 2 days before Elijah's arrest. The video showed Mercer in an office with 2 other officers. One was Hayes. The other was someone Elijah didn't recognize. Audio's faint. Williams's voice came through the phone. "But I cleaned it up. Listen." Elijah turned up the volume. "Turner's a problem." That was Mercer's voice. "Reeves died in prison because of him. Somebody needs to teach that old man a lesson." "You want to go after a retired judge?" Hayes sounded skeptical. "That's heat we don't need." "No heat if we do it right. Traffic stop, plant some product, make it look clean." Mercer's face was visible on camera, smiling. "He's black, he's old, he hangs around schools. The narrative writes itself." "What if he fights it?" "He won't. Nobody fights it. They all take the deal because they can't afford not to." Mercer leaned back in his chair. "And even if he does fight, who's going to believe him? He's got priors." "Turner doesn't have priors," the third officer said. "He will after I'm done with him." The video ended. Elijah sat back feeling cold all over. They'd planned it, discussed it, premeditated the entire thing. "Williams, where did you get this?" "The security system archives everything for 60 days before auto-deletion. I grabbed it before they could purge it." Her voice was tight. "Judge, this is conspiracy. This is premeditation. This is everything we need to destroy them. Everything we need to put them away for 20 years. Williams paused. "But Judge, I accessed these files without authorization. The footage might not be admissible." "Then we make it admissible. We find a way." Elijah's mind was already working through the legal angles. "Send this to Marcus, and to Jessica Huang at Channel 7, and to the FBI." The FBI. Civil rights violation under color of law. That's federal jurisdiction, and the FBI doesn't answer to Captain Rodriguez. Williams was quiet for a moment. You're going scorched earth. They threatened my granddaughter. There is no earth left to scorch. Marcus ended his call. Henderson's coming over. He wants to see everything we have. Show him that video first. Marcus watched it 3 times. His expression grew darker with each viewing. This is premeditated deprivation of civil rights. Conspiracy to commit a crime. This is Dad, they're going to prison. All of them. If we can get this admitted as evidence. We can. Williams accessed it as part of an internal investigation into officer misconduct. She had probable cause after Banks's assault. Any halfway decent judge will allow it. And if we don't get a halfway decent judge, then we appeal, and we keep appealing until we do. Marcus's jaw set. But I don't think we'll need to. Not with this much public pressure. Bill Henderson arrived at 10 p.m. Late 50s silver hair 3-piece suit even at this hour. He'd defended everyone from mob bosses to corrupt politicians, and he'd never lost a case he believed in. He watched the video once, didn't say anything, watched it again, then looked at Elijah. When's the trial? There is no trial. The charges were dropped. Not your trial. Mercer's trial. When does it start? There is no trial date yet. He hasn't even been charged. Henderson smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator who'd just spotted wounded prey. He will be, tomorrow. I'm going to make a few calls tonight. By morning, the DA will have no choice but to charge him, and Hayes, and Rodriguez, and everyone else in that video. He stood. Judge Turner, how would you feel about being the prosecution's star witness? I'd feel like I was exactly where I needed to be. Good. Because this case is going to be the biggest thing to hit this city in a decade. And when it's over, those corrupt bastards are going to wish they'd never heard your name. Henderson headed for the door, then stopped. One more thing. The death threats. You're taking them seriously. My granddaughter is already out of state. Good. Keep her there, and you might want to consider protective custody for yourself. I'm not hiding. I didn't say hide. I said protect. Henderson's expression softened slightly. Judge, these people have nothing left to lose. That makes them dangerous. Don't underestimate what they're capable of. After Henderson left, Marcus turned to his father. He's right. You should consider protection. I have protection. Elijah nodded toward the gun still sitting on his desk. Dad, I'm not going to use it unless I have to, but I'm also not going to be defenseless. Elijah stood, walked to the window. Outside, a car sat at the corner. Dark sedan, tinted windows. It had been there for 2 hours. We're already being watched. Marcus looked out. You think that's them? I think they want us to know they're watching. Intimidation tactic. Make us afraid. Is it working? Elijah thought about Maya, about Marcus, about everyone he loved who could be hurt because he'd chosen to fight back. Yes, he admitted quietly. But I'm doing it anyway. They stayed up until 3 a.m. organizing evidence. The dashcam footage, the identical arrest reports, the security video, statements from Williams, medical records from Banks's assault. Every piece of the puzzle laid out on the dining room table like a war map. Because that's what it was. A war. At 6:30 a.m., Jessica Huang called. Judge Turner, the security footage. Where did it come from? Officer Williams. Why? Because the police department is claiming it's fabricated, deepfake. They're saying we ran doctored video to smear good officers. Huang's voice was frustrated. They held a press conference 20 minutes ago. Captain Rodriguez himself said this is a witch hunt orchestrated by a bitter ex-judge with an axe to grind. Elijah closed his eyes. Of course. Attack the evidence. Attack the witness. It was straight out of the corrupt cop playbook. The metadata on that video will show it's authentic. Any expert can verify. I know that, you know that, but the public doesn't know that. All they know is a police captain in full uniform saying we're lying. Huang paused. Judge, I need more. I need something they can't spin. I need a smoking gun. I gave you the smoking gun. Mercer on video planning the whole thing. And they're saying it's fake. I need corroboration. I need another witness. You need Trevor Banks. Silence. He's in ICU. He's conscious. As of 2 hours ago. I checked. Elijah was already grabbing his jacket. If he's conscious, he can talk. And if he can talk, he can go on camera. The hospital won't allow it. His condition. Then we don't do it at the hospital. We do it somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't stop us. Huang was quiet for a moment. Then, Judge, are you suggesting we remove a patient from a hospital against medical advice? I'm suggesting we give Trevor Banks a chance to tell his story before the gatekeepers write it for him. That's insane. That's necessary. Another pause. If we do this, we need to do it right. Medical equipment. A nurse. Somewhere secure. Huang's voice shifted. I know a place. Small clinic in the warehouse district. Run by a doctor who treats victims of police brutality off the books. She owes me. Set it up. I'll get Banks. How he's under police guard. Elijah smiled grimly. Leave that to me. He called Williams. Judge, at 7 in the morning. I need you to get Trevor Banks out of St. Mary's. Today. Now. Are you out of your mind? He's critical. He's conscious. He's stable enough to move. And if we leave him there another day, Rodriguez will find a way to finish what they started. Williams didn't respond immediately. When she did, her voice was careful. You're asking me to commit multiple violations, patient endangerment, obstruction, interfering with. I'm asking you to save a man's life, and maybe your own soul while you're at it. Elijah's voice softened. Officer Williams, Denise, you've been looking the other way for years. You told me that yourself. Here's your chance to look straight at it, to do something that matters. Silence stretched. Then, what do you need? An ambulance, a trusted EMT crew, and 30 minutes to get Banks out before anyone notices. I can't promise. I'm not asking for promises. I'm asking you to try. Williams exhaled slowly. Give me 2 hours. And Judge, if this goes wrong, we're all going to jail. If this goes right, we're all going to be heroes. I'll take those odds. At 9:15 a.m., Elijah's phone buzzed. Williams. It's done. Banks is en route to the clinic. But Judge, you need to know something. When I went to get him, there was already someone in his room. Who? Hayes, standing over Banks's bed. I walked in just as he was disconnecting one of the IV lines. Elijah's blood ran cold. He was trying to kill him. Yeah, I pulled my weapon. He backed off, claimed he was just checking on a fellow officer. But Judge, if I'd been 5 minutes later. Where is Hayes now? I detained him, called it in as suspicious activity, but he'll be released within the hour. They'll claim it was a misunderstanding. Williams's voice was bitter. The system protects them. Always has. Not this time. This time we burn the whole system down. The clinic was in a converted warehouse in the industrial district. Graffiti on the walls outside. Broken windows. But inside was clean professional equipped with everything Banks needed. Dr. Sarah Ortiz met them at the door. 40-something. Tired eyes. Hands that had probably sutured 1,000 wounds the police had caused. You're Judge Turner. I am. You put away the cop who killed my brother. 8 years ago. Marcus Rodriguez. Shot him during a traffic stop. Claimed self-defense. You didn't buy it. Elijah remembered. Young man. 23. Cell phone in his hand that the officer claimed was a gun. Elijah had reviewed the evidence for hours before ruling the shooting unjustified. I'm sorry for your loss. Don't be sorry. Be right. Again. Dr. Ortiz stepped aside. Banks is stable. Weak but conscious. You can talk to him. But not for long. He needs rest. Trevor Banks lay on a hospital bed in what had probably once been an office. Tubes and monitors surrounded him. His face was still bruised, one eye swollen shut. But when he saw Elijah, he smiled weakly. "Judge, you got me out." "Officer Williams got you out. I just made the call." Elijah pulled up a chair. "Trevor, I need to ask you something, and you can say no. You have every right to say no." "What is it? Tell your story, on camera, before the department can bury it under their narrative." Elijah leaned forward. "They're saying the security footage is fake, that you're unstable, that you tried to kill yourself because you couldn't handle the pressure. We need you to set the record straight." Banks closed his eyes. "If I do that, I'm done. My career, my reputation, everything." "Your career is already done. Mercer and Hayes made sure of that when they beat you and left you for dead." Elijah's voice was gentle, but firm. "But your reputation, your legacy, that's yours to write. Right now, you can be the dirty cop who tried to cover his own crimes. Or you can be the hero who exposed corruption at the cost of everything. Your choice." Banks was quiet for a long time. Then he opened his eyes. When Jessica Huang arrived with her camera crew 30 minutes later, they set up quickly, professionally. Soft lighting to make Banks look less injured than he was, but not too soft. The bruises needed to show. Huang sat beside the bed, microphone in hand. "Officer Banks, thank you for speaking with us. I know this is difficult." "It's necessary." Banks's voice was weak but steady. "Let's start at the beginning. How long have you been with the Metropolitan Police Department?" 18 months. I joined right out of the academy." "And when did you first witness misconduct?" "My third day on patrol. I was riding with Officer Mercer. We pulled over a black teenager for a broken taillight. Mercer found drugs in the car. I thought it was a good bust. But after when we got back to the station, I saw him pull an identical bag from his locker and put it in his pocket. That's when I realized he'd planted the first one." "Did you report it?" "No. I was a rookie. Mercer was decorated. Who would believe me?" Banks's voice cracked. "I told myself it was a one-time thing, that maybe I'd misunderstood what I saw. But it wasn't one time. No. Over the next year, I watched him plant evidence on at least 15 people. Maybe more. All of them poor, most of them black or Hispanic, all of them without the resources to fight back." Banks looked directly at the camera. "And I said nothing, because I was a coward." "What changed?" "Judge Turner. When Mercer arrested him, I knew this was different. This wasn't some kid who'd take a plea deal. This was a man who knew the system, who could fight back, who could expose everything." Banks's good eye filled with tears. "I thought maybe this was my chance to make things right, to stop being part of the problem." "So you copied the dashcam footage?" "Yes. And I found other evidence, reports, statements, a whole system of corruption that went back years." "Who else was involved?" Banks hesitated. Then, Detective Hayes, Sergeant Phillips, Captain Rodriguez, maybe others. They called themselves the gatekeepers, protected each other, destroyed evidence, threatened anyone who tried to expose them. Like you. Like me. 2 nights ago, Hayes and Mercer found me at my patrol car, told me to delete everything. When I said I'd already sent it out, Banks's voice broke. "They beat me. Hayes put my own gun to my head, said he'd make it look like suicide, said nobody would question it. Rookie cop couldn't handle the pressure." "But you survived." "Because someone called 911. I don't know who, but they saved my life." Banks looked at Huang. "Now I'm here. My career is over. I'll probably never work in law enforcement again. But at least I can sleep at night knowing I tried to do the right thing." Huang turned to the camera. That was Officer Trevor Banks speaking exclusively with Channel 7 News. As you just heard, he alleges systematic corruption within the Metropolitan Police Department. A corruption that reaches the highest levels. A corruption that has destroyed countless lives. She turned back to Banks. One final question. Do you regret exposing this? Banks didn't hesitate. No. I regret not doing it sooner. I regret all the people I could have saved if I'd been braver, if I'd spoken up the first time instead of the 15th time. He looked directly into the camera again. To everyone Mercer arrested, everyone whose life he destroyed with his lies, I'm sorry. I should have protected you, and I didn't. But I'm trying to now, even if it's too late. The interview ended. Huang signaled to her crew to stop filming. We'll run this tonight, 6 p.m. news. By tomorrow it'll be everywhere. Good. Elijah walked to Banks's bedside. You did well, son. Did I feels like I'm just cleaning up a mess I helped make. Redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about choosing a better future. Elijah squeezed his shoulder gently. You chose. That's what matters. Dr. Ortiz returned. He needs rest. Everyone out. They left Banks to sleep. Outside, Marcus was waiting with his phone. Henderson called. The DA is filing charges. Mercer Hayes Rodriguez and 3 others. Conspiracy, deprivation of rights, evidence tampering, the whole package. When? Press conference in 2 hours. They want you there. Me? You're the victim. You're also the most credible witness. And? Marcus smiled slightly. You're a retired judge who the public trusts. Your face sells the story. Elijah thought about that, about becoming the face of this fight, about making himself an even bigger target. Okay, let's do it. The DA's press conference was held at the county courthouse. Cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions, and at the podium, District Attorney Elizabeth Warren flanked by FBI agents. Good afternoon. Today, in coordination with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, this office is filing charges against 7 officers of the Metropolitan Police Department. These charges include conspiracy to commit civil rights violations, deprivation of rights under color of law, evidence tampering assault, and attempted murder. Flashbulbs exploded. Reporters shouted. Warren continued. These officers engaged in a systematic pattern of corruption spanning at least 5 years. They planted evidence. They falsified reports. They destroyed lives. And when someone tried to expose them, they attempted to kill him. She gestured to Elijah. I'd like to introduce Judge Elijah Turner, retired, 30 years on the bench, arrested 2 days ago on false charges. Judge Turner, would you like to say anything? Elijah stepped to the podium, looked at the cameras, thought about every person Mercer had destroyed, every family torn apart by lies. Justice delayed is justice denied. That's what they teach you in law school. But what about justice destroyed? What about justice corrupted? What about a system that protects the guilty and punishes the innocent? His voice was steady. For 30 years I believed in this system. I believed that truth would prevail, that good would overcome evil, that the law was bigger than any one person's corruption. He paused. Let the silence build. I was wrong. Truth doesn't prevail on its own. Good doesn't overcome evil without a fight. And the law is only as good as the people who enforce it. Elijah's voice grew stronger. Officer Trevor Banks fought. He risked everything. And because of his courage, we have a chance to fix what's broken. To hold the corrupt accountable. To restore faith in a system that has failed too many people for too long. He looked directly at the camera. To everyone who's been victimized by these officers. Everyone who took a plea deal because you couldn't afford to fight. Everyone who's sitting in prison right now for a crime you didn't commit. I see you. We see you. And we're coming for justice. Real justice. Not the kind that depends on your bank account or the color of your skin, but the kind that treats every person with equal respect under the law. The room erupted, questions flying. But Elijah stepped back. Let Warren handle the rest. Marcus found him in a side room afterward. That was one hell of a speech. It was the truth. The truth just made you an even bigger target. Marcus showed him his phone. Social media was exploding. Half the posts were supportive, the other half were threatening. Judge Turner should watch his back. Old man doesn't know when to quit. Accidents happen to people who cause trouble. Elijah scrolled through them, feeling cold. They're not even hiding it anymore. No, they're desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. Marcus pocketed his phone. Henderson wants to put you in protective custody, real protective custody, federal marshals, safe house. For how long? Until trial, could be months. I'm not hiding for months. Dad? No. I've spent 2 days running hiding, looking over my shoulder. I'm done. Elijah's jaw set. If they want me, they can come find me. But I'm not going to live in fear. That's not brave. That's suicidal. Maybe, but it's my choice. They argued about it all the way home. Marcus wanted protection. Elijah wanted to live his life. They compromised on hiring private security. 2 ex-military guys who'd protect the house but wouldn't interfere with Elijah's movements. At 6 p.m., Banks's interview aired. Within an hour, it had 1 million views online. Within 3 hours, 5 million. By morning, it would be everywhere. The phone rang constantly. Supporters, media, former defendants who wanted their cases reviewed. Elijah let Marcus handle most of it. He was too tired, too wrung out from 2 days of adrenaline and fear. At 9 p.m., he finally let himself feel it. The weight of everything. The danger. The responsibility. The knowledge that people's lives depended on him seeing this through. He sat in his study, lights off, and let the tears come. Silent, hot. Years of believing in a system that had failed. Years of sending people to prison, some of whom might have been innocent. Years of not seeing what was right in front of him. A knock on the door. Marcus. Dad. You okay? No, but I will be. Marcus sat down beside him. Father and son in the darkness. When I was 8, Marcus said quietly, I asked you what justice meant. You remember what you said. I remember. You said justice is when the truth wins, when the innocent are protected and the guilty are held accountable, when the system works the way it's supposed to. Marcus turned to face him. Dad, that's what you're doing now. Making the system work. Making truth win. You're living every word you taught me. Elijah reached over, squeezed his son's hand. Thank you for not giving up on me. Never. We're in this together. All the way. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Elijah's phone buzzed. Williams. Judge, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where Hayes made bail an hour ago, and Rodriguez was released pending trial. They're both out. How they're facing federal charges. Sympathetic judge. High bail, but they made it. And judge, about 10 minutes ago, a patrol car drove past Dr. Ortiz's clinic. Slowly, like they were looking for something. Elijah's chest tightened. Banks. I'm already on my way there. But judge, if they found him, get him out, now. Move him somewhere else. Somewhere even we don't know about. Already done. Dr. Ortiz has a network. Safe houses for people running from abusive cops. She's moving him tonight. Williams paused. But judge, they'll keep looking. They'll keep hunting. This doesn't end until the trial, and maybe not even then. I know. After he hung up, Marcus looked at him. How long until trial? Henderson said 3 months. Maybe 4. Can we survive that long? Elijah thought about Maya, safe with her mother's parents in Michigan. About Trevor Banks running from the very system he'd sworn to uphold. About Williams risking everything to do what was right. We don't have a choice. We survive, we fight, and we win. He stood, turned on the lights. Now let's get back to work. We have a case to build. They worked until 2 a.m. Building witness lists, organizing evidence, preparing for depositions. The dining room table became their war room, covered in documents and photographs and timelines. At 2:15 a.m., a brick crashed through the front window. Marcus dove for the floor. Elijah froze. glass everywhere. The security team rushed in, weapons drawn. "Stay down." They checked outside. No one there. But tied to the brick was a note. "Drop the case or drop dead." Elijah stared at it, felt the fear try to claw its way up his throat, felt the urge to give in, to protect himself and everyone he loved by just walking away. Then he thought about the 19-year-old kid who'd lost his scholarship because of planted evidence, about the mother of 3 serving 5 years for a crime she didn't commit, about every life Mercer and his gatekeepers had destroyed because they thought they were untouchable. He picked up the note, walked to the fireplace, and set it on fire. "We don't drop anything," he said quietly. "We go harder." Marcus stood beside him, watching the paper burn. "They're going to keep coming." "Let them. We're not backing down." Elijah turned to face his son. "Call Henderson. Tell him we want the trial moved up, as soon as possible. I'm done waiting. I'm done being hunted. We end this. Now." Marcus smiled. It was fierce and proud. "That's my dad." Outside, another car cruised past slowly. Dark sedan, tinted windows, the same one that had been watching the house for days. But this time, Elijah walked to the broken window and stared directly at it. Didn't hide. Didn't flinch. The message was clear. "I'm not afraid of you." The car drove on, but Elijah knew it would be back. They would all be back. Mercer, Hayes, Rodriguez, everyone with something to lose. But so would he, and next time he'd be ready. Henderson called at 6 a.m. the next morning, 3 hours after the brick incident. "I got your message. You want the trial moved up?" "As soon as possible." "Judge, that's insane. We need time to prepare, to depose witnesses, to build an airtight case." "We already have an airtight case. Video evidence, witness testimony, documented patterns of corruption." Elijah's voice was firm despite his exhaustion. "What we need is to get these men off the streets before they kill someone. They made bail. There's nothing we can do about that. We can put them in front of a jury, fast, before they have time to intimidate more witnesses or destroy more evidence." Elijah paused. "Bill, someone threw a brick through my window last night. The note said drop the case or drop dead. They're not going to stop. The only way this ends is if we end it." Henderson was quiet for a moment. "I'll talk to the judge. See if we can get a date within 6 weeks instead of 3 months. But Judge Turner, even if we rush this 6 weeks is a long time for you to stay alive. Then I guess I better be careful." After he hung up, Marcus emerged from the kitchen with coffee and a bandage on his hand from cleaning up the glass. Henderson on board. Reluctantly, "He thinks I'm rushing into something that could blow up in our faces." "Are you?" Elijah took the coffee, sipped it. "Probably, but waiting isn't safe either. At least this way we control the timeline." The doorbell rang. Both men froze. The security guard checked the camera, then opened the door. It was Williams. She looked like she hadn't slept. "Judge, we need to talk." They sat in the study. Williams declined coffee, just sat with her hands clasped together like she was holding something fragile. "Banks is safe. For now. But Judge, there's something you need to know about Rodriguez." "What about him?" "He's not just a captain, he's connected. City council, mayor's office, even some judges." Williams's voice was low. "When I started digging into his background, I found campaign contributions, lots of them, to every politician with influence over the police department, and I found something else." She pulled out a folder, handed it to Elijah. "Real estate transactions. Over the past 5 years, Rodriguez has purchased 17 properties, total value almost $4 million, on a captain's salary of $90,000 a year." Marcus leaned over to look. "Where's the money coming from?" "That's the question. And when I tried to trace it, I hit walls, shell companies, offshore accounts, the kind of financial architecture you only see with organized crime." Elijah felt his stomach drop. "You're saying Rodriguez isn't just corrupt. He's part of something bigger." I'm saying the gatekeepers aren't just dirty cops protecting each other. They're a criminal enterprise, and they've been operating under cover of law enforcement for years. Williams looked exhausted. Judge, if we're right about this, then taking down Mercer and Hayes isn't enough. We need to dismantle the entire network. How? RICO charges. Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. If we can prove Rodriguez and the others were operating as a criminal organization, we can seize assets, freeze accounts, go after everyone connected to them. Williams pulled out another document. I've been building a case, quietly, without anyone knowing. But I need help. I need someone with legal expertise who can make sense of all this. Marcus took the documents, started reading. His expression grew darker with each page. Dad, this is extensive. Bribery, money laundering, extortion. If even half of this is true, it's all true. Williams's voice was flat. I've verified every transaction, every payment, every connection. Rodriguez has been running a protection racket for 5 years. He and his gatekeepers plant evidence on people, then offer to make it go away for a price. Small businesses, property owners, anyone with something to lose. How many victims? At least 40 that I can document, probably more. Elijah started pacing. His mind was racing. This wasn't just about his arrest anymore. This was about a systemic criminal operation that had corrupted the entire department. We need to bring in the FBI, federal prosecutors. This is way beyond what the DA's office can handle. I already contacted them, anonymously. They're interested, but they want more evidence before they commit resources. Williams looked at Elijah. They want someone on the inside, someone who can wear a wire. Get Rodriguez talking. That's suicide. Anyone who tries that, I'll do it. The room went silent. Marcus spoke first. Officer Williams, Denise, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. I've been part of this department for 12 years. I've looked the other way for too long. If wearing a wire is what it takes to bring these bastards down, then I'll do it. They'll kill you if they find out, Elijah said quietly. Maybe, but at least I'll die doing something that matters. Williams met his gaze. Judge, you asked me to look straight at the problem, to do something that counts. This is it. This is my chance. There has to be another way. There isn't. Rodriguez is too careful, too insulated. The only way to get him is to make him think he's safe, make him talk, record it. Williams's jaw set. I've already reached out to him. Told him I'm worried about the bank situation, that I want to make sure we're all protected. He's meeting me tonight. Tonight? That's too fast. You need training, equipment, backup. The FBI is providing all of that. They're setting me up this afternoon. By tonight, I'll be wired and ready. Williams stood. I'm not asking for permission, Judge. I'm telling you what's happening. But I wanted you to know, in case something goes wrong. Elijah wanted to argue, wanted to tell her this was insane, reckless, dangerous. But he also knew she was right. This was the only way. Okay, but you don't go in alone. You have FBI backup, close backup. The moment things go south, you get out. Agreed. After Williams left, Marcus turned to his father. She's going to get herself killed. Maybe. Or maybe she's going to be the hero who breaks the whole thing open. Elijah sat down heavily. Either way, it's out of our hands now. The day crawled by. Elijah tried to focus on trial preparation, but his mind kept drifting to Williams, to what could go wrong, to how many ways this could end in tragedy. At 4 p.m., Henderson called with news. Judge granted the motion. Trial starts in 5 weeks, October 15th. 5 weeks. That's fast. Insanely fast. The judge wasn't happy about it, but the public pressure is too high. He can't be seen dragging his feet on police corruption. Henderson paused. Judge Turner, this also means we have 5 weeks to prepare for the biggest trial this city has seen in decades. Are you ready for that? I don't have a choice. That's not an answer. Elijah closed his eyes, thought about everything that had happened, the arrest, the plant, Banks lying in a hospital bed, the brick through his window, the threats against his family. Yes, I'm ready. Good, because starting tomorrow we're in full trial prep mode. Witness interviews, depositions, mock trials. You're going to be living and breathing this case every waking moment. I'm already living and breathing it. Then get ready to do it more. At 8 p.m., Elijah's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It's done. Meeting happened. He talked. A lot. FBI has everything. Williams. Elijah called her immediately. Are you safe? I'm with the FBI now, at their field office. Judge, you were right. Rodriguez isn't just part of the network. He's running it. He admitted everything. The protection rackets, the evidence planting, the money laundering. All of it. Did he say anything about Mercer? He said Mercer was his best earner. That the Turner arrest was personal but also strategic. Take down a prominent black judge, show that nobody's untouchable. Williams's voice was shaking slightly. Judge, he laughed about it. About ruining your life. About destroying Banks. He laughed. Elijah felt cold fury wash over him. The recording is admissible. The FBI says yes. Rodriguez didn't know he was being recorded. Single-party consent state. It's clean. Williams paused. They're moving to arrest him tonight, along with 4 other officers he named. This is happening. It's really happening. You did good, Officer Williams. You did really good. I just hope it's enough. At 10:47 p.m., news broke. Federal agents arrested Captain Rodriguez and 4 other officers on RICO charges. The images of Rodriguez being led out of his home in handcuffs went viral within minutes. Elijah watched the coverage with Marcus. His son was smiling, but Elijah felt only exhaustion. We're winning, Dad. Can you feel it? We're actually winning. Maybe, but it's not over yet. As if on cue, his phone rang. Henderson. Have you seen the news? Just now. The DA wants to consolidate cases, try all the officers together, one big trial instead of separate ones. Henderson sounded energized. Judge, this is what we wanted. One trial, one verdict. Take them all down at once. When? Still October 15th. But now we're talking about 8 defendants instead of 3. 8 defense attorneys. 8 different strategies to counter. This just got exponentially more complicated. Elijah rubbed his eyes. Can we handle it? We have to. Because if we lose this, if even one of them walks, the whole thing falls apart. Henderson's voice turned serious. Judge, I need you to understand something. This trial is going to be brutal. They're going to attack your credibility, your character. They're going to dig up every case you ever ruled on, looking for anything they can use to paint you as biased or corrupt. They're going to make you the villain. Let them try. I'm serious. Defense attorneys in a case like this, they'll go for blood, and you're their primary target. I've spent 30 years on a bench watching lawyers try to tear down witnesses. I know every trick, every tactic. I can handle it. It's different when you're the one in the hot seat. Then I'll adapt. Elijah's voice was firm. Bill, I'm not backing down. Whatever they throw at me, I'll take it, because this is bigger than my ego or my reputation. This is about justice. Henderson sighed. Okay, but don't say I didn't warn you. Over the next 4 weeks, Elijah lived in a state of controlled chaos. 14-hour days of preparation, depositions, mock cross-examinations, going over his testimony until he could recite it in his sleep. Marcus coordinated with the DA's office. Henderson drilled Elijah on every possible question the defense might ask. Williams provided insider information about department procedures and the relationships between the defendants. And through it all, the threats continued. Anonymous letters, phone calls in the middle of the night, cars following them to and from meetings. The security team intercepted 3 more attempts to vandalize the house. 2 weeks before trial, someone slashed all 4 tires on Marcus's car while he was in court. The message was clear: we can get to you anywhere. 3 days before trial, Elijah received a call from Dr. Ortiz. Banks wants to testify. Is he strong enough? Physically, barely. Psychologically, I'm not sure. But he says he needs to do this, that if he doesn't face them, he'll never be able to face himself. Tell him yes. Tell him we'll protect him every step of the way. On October 14th, the day before trial, Elijah couldn't sleep. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through his testimony one more time. At 2 a.m., his phone rang. Henderson. We have a problem. Elijah sat up. What kind of problem? Judge Morrison, the judge assigned to our case. He just recused himself. What? Why? Said he received a credible threat against his family. Said he can't be impartial under those circumstances. Henderson's voice was tight with anger. They got to him. The gatekeepers threatened his family and he folded. So what happens now? Random reassignment. We get a new judge tomorrow morning. Could be anyone on the bench. Henderson paused. And Judge, if we get someone sympathetic to the defense, someone Rodriguez or his lawyers have connections to, this whole thing could fall apart. Elijah closed his eyes. Who's the presiding judge for reassignments? Judge Patricia Chen. Call her, tonight. Tell her I need to speak with her. Urgently. Judge Turner, you can't. I'm not asking her to assign anyone specific. I'm asking her to assign someone clean. Someone these bastards can't touch. Someone with integrity. Elijah's voice was hard. Make the call, Bill. Henderson called back 20 minutes later. Judge Chen will see you at 6 a.m. Her chambers. Come alone. Elijah arrived at the courthouse at 5:45 a.m. Judge Patricia Chen was already there pouring coffee. Elijah, sit. They'd known each other for 20 years, served on the bench together, attended the same bar association events. She was 5 years younger, sharp as a blade, and absolutely incorruptible. You know why I'm here. I know what Bill Henderson told me. That Morrison was threatened, that you're worried about getting a compromised judge. Chen sat across from him. Elijah, I can't promise you anything. The assignment is random, computer-generated. The assignment is your discretion if you invoke the integrity clause, if you have reason to believe the random assignment might be compromised. Chen studied him. You're asking me to manipulate the system. I'm asking you to protect it. Rodriguez has connections, influence, money. If this case goes to the wrong judge, guilty men walk free. And the message that sends, that corruption wins. That justice is for sale. And if I use my discretion, if I handpick a judge, the defense will appeal. Claim bias. Claim, I stacked the deck. Let them claim it. Let them appeal. At least we'll have a fair trial. Elijah leaned forward. Patricia, you know me. You know I've never asked for special treatment, never bent the rules. But this is different. This is about the integrity of the entire system. Chen was quiet for a long time. Then she walked to her window. There's a judge, young, only been on the bench 3 years, but she's smart, fair, and nobody owns her. No connections to the department, no political debts. Chen turned back. Judge Amanda Reeves, no relation to the officer you sentenced 10 years ago, but she grew up poor, single mother, worked her way through law school. She understands what it means when the system fails people. Assign her. If I do this, Elijah, I'm putting my own career on the line. If the defense proves I manipulated the assignment, they won't, because you didn't manipulate it. You used your discretion to ensure a fair trial. That's your job. Elijah held her gaze. Patricia, please. Chen nodded slowly. Judge Reeves will be assigned this morning, 9 a.m. But Elijah, if this goes wrong, I can't protect you or her. I know. Thank you. At 9 a.m., the courthouse was packed. Media everywhere. Protesters outside holding signs. Justice for all, and Blue Lives Matter, and prosecute the police. Inside, the defendants sat at their tables. Mercer, looking smug. Hayes whispering to his lawyer. Rodriguez calm, composed, like he was certain this was all going to blow over. Judge Amanda Reeves entered. She was in her late 30s, black with an expression that said she suffered no fools. This court is now in session. Case number 2025 CR 8847. The People versus Mercer Hayes Rodriguez and 5 others. Multiple counts of conspiracy civil rights violations, evidence tampering, assault, and racketeering. Reeves looked around the courtroom. Before we begin jury selection, I want to make one thing very clear. This trial will be fair. Both sides will have the opportunity to present their cases. But I will not tolerate intimidation threats or any attempt to corrupt this process. Anyone who tries will find themselves in contempt. Are we clear? A chorus of "Yes, Your Honor" from both sides. Good. Let's begin. Jury selection took 3 days. The defense tried to stack the jury with people sympathetic to law enforcement. The prosecution pushed for people who'd had negative experiences with police. In the end, they settled on 12 jurors and 4 alternates. 7 women, 5 men. Mixed races, working-class backgrounds. It was as fair a jury as they were going to get. On October 18th, opening statements began. The DA went first. Elizabeth Warren standing in front of the jury, looking each one in the eye. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about trust. About the trust we place in law enforcement to protect us, to serve us, to uphold the law, and about what happens when that trust is betrayed. She gestured to the defendants. These 8 men wore badges. They swore oaths. They were given power and authority, and they abused it, systematically, deliberately, for years. Warren clicked a remote. The dashcam footage filled the screen. Mercer planting evidence in Elijah's car. This is retired Judge Elijah Turner, 72 years old, 30 years on the bench, arrested outside his granddaughter's school on false charges. And you're going to watch frame by frame as Officer Mercer plants the evidence that would have sent an innocent man to prison. The footage played. The courtroom was silent. Even the defendant's lawyers looked uncomfortable. But Judge Turner isn't the only victim. Over the next few weeks, you're going to hear from people whose lives were destroyed by these men. A 19-year-old who lost his college scholarship. A mother of 3 serving 5 years for a crime she didn't commit. A small business owner who paid $50,000 in protection to make false charges disappear. Warren's voice rose. You're going to hear from Officer Trevor Banks, who tried to expose this corruption and was beaten nearly to death for his courage. And you're going to see financial records showing that these officers made millions of dollars through their criminal enterprise. She paused. Let that sink in. The defense is going to tell you that these are good officers who made mistakes. That the evidence is circumstantial. That this is a witch hunt driven by political pressure. Don't believe it. Because the evidence is overwhelming. The corruption is documented. And justice demands that these men be held accountable. Warren sat down. The defense attorney for Mercer stood. His name was Robert Chen. No relation to Judge Chen, and he was known as one of the best criminal defense lawyers in the state. Ladies and gentlemen, the prosecution wants you to believe that my client is a criminal, a corrupt cop who planted evidence and destroyed lives. But what they're really asking you to do is ignore the context. Ignore the pressure that police officers face every day. Ignore the split-second decisions they have to make. Chen walked toward the jury. Officer Mercer has served this city for 12 years. 12 years of putting his life on the line. And yes, he arrested Judge Turner. Yes, he found drugs in that vehicle. But drugs that were there. Drugs that Judge Turner claims were planted, but has no proof of beyond his own word. Chen clicked his own remote. The footage played again, but this time with different framing. Watch carefully. What the prosecution calls a plant, we call a lawful search. Officer Mercer's hand movement, standard procedure. He's adjusting his position, reaching into a tight space. And when he pulls out the bag, it's from the center console, exactly where drug dealers typically hide contraband. Several jurors leaned forward, watching more carefully. The prosecution wants you to see corruption. We want you to see a dedicated officer doing his job. And over the course of this trial, we're going to prove that Officer Mercer acted in good faith, that the so-called evidence of corruption is nothing more than coincidence and misinterpretation, and that my client deserves the presumption of innocence that every American is entitled to." Chen sat down. The other defense attorneys gave similar statements, all variations on the same theme: good cop's difficult job rush to judgment. Then Judge Reeves looked at the prosecution. "Call your first witness." Warren stood. "The people call Judge Elijah Turner." Elijah walked to the stand, took the oath, sat down, looked at the jury. This was it. This was the moment everything came down to. Warren approached. "Judge Turner, can you tell us what happened on the afternoon of October 8th? Elijah took a breath and began. He told them about waiting for Maya, about Mercer's approach, about the traffic stop that wasn't a traffic stop, about watching with 30 years of legal experience as Mercer planted evidence. He spoke for 40 minutes. The courtroom was silent except for his voice. When he finished, Warren said, "No further questions." Robert Chen stood for cross-examination. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Judge Turner, you said you watched my client plant evidence. With 30 years of legal experience, you recognized what was happening." "That's correct." "And yet, you didn't say anything at the time. Didn't yell, didn't protest, just watched." "I was handcuffed, in shock, and I knew that anything I said would be used against me." "In shock. A man with 30 years on the bench, a man who's seen everything, shocked into silence." "Objection. Argumentative," Warren said. "Sustained." Reeves ruled. Chen tried a different angle. "Judge Turner, in your 30 years on the bench, how many cases did you preside over involving Officer Mercer?" "None that I recall." "None. So you had no personal grudge against him?" "No." "And how many cases did you preside over involving Officer Mercer's training officer, Dan Reeves?" Elijah's stomach tightened. "One. One case." "Tell the jury about that case." "I sentenced Officer Dan Reeves to 15 years for evidence tampering and civil rights violations." 15 years. That's a significant sentence. It matched the severity of his crimes, or it matched your personal bias against police officers. "Objection." Warren stood. "Your Honor, counsel is making accusations without foundation." "I'll allow it," Reeves said. "But Mr. Chen, get to your point." Chen smiled. "Judge Turner, isn't it true that Officer Mercer testified on behalf of Officer Reeves during that trial?" Elijah felt the trap closing. "Yes." "And isn't it true that you questioned Officer Mercer's credibility during that trial, accused him of lying to protect his training officer?" "I evaluated his testimony like any witness." "You called him a liar in open court." "I said his testimony was inconsistent with the evidence." "Same thing." Chen turned to the jury. "So here's what actually happened. Officer Mercer testified against you in a case where you wanted to destroy a decorated officer. You held a grudge, and when you saw an opportunity for revenge, you took it. You let Officer Mercer arrest you, then you cried corruption, planted evidence, a vast conspiracy, all to get back at the officer who dared to stand up to you. That's not... Isn't it, though? Isn't this entire trial just your vendetta against officers who don't bow to your authority?" "Objection." Warren was on her feet. "Your Honor, this is outrageous." "Sustained. Mr. Chen, you're out of line. Ask questions, don't make speeches." But the damage was done. Chen had planted doubt, made Elijah look vindictive, petty, human. The cross-examination continued for 2 more hours. Chen hammered at every inconsistency, every detail Elijah couldn't remember perfectly. Every moment where his story didn't align with the defense's narrative. By the time Elijah stepped down, he was exhausted, wrung out, and he could see some of the jurors looking at him differently. Marcus met him in the hallway during recess. "You did fine." I looked like I had a personal grudge. You looked human. That's not a bad thing. Marcus squeezed his shoulder. Dad, they're going to attack everyone. But we have the evidence. The footage. Banks's testimony. Williams's recording. The pattern of corruption. One hostile cross-examination doesn't change that. Elijah wanted to believe him. But he'd seen too many trials turn on a single moment of doubt, a single crack in a witness's credibility. The afternoon session began with the prosecution calling their forensic expert, a video analyst who broke down the dashcam footage frame by frame, showing definitively that Mercer's hand entered his own pocket before pulling out the bag. The defense's expert testified that the footage was inconclusive, that shadows and angles made it impossible to say with certainty what happened. Dueling experts. Dueling narratives. The jury looked confused. On day 6 of trial, Trevor Banks testified. He was still weak, still bandaged, but his voice was steady. I watched Officer Mercer plant evidence multiple times. I said nothing because I was afraid. And I will regret that cowardice for the rest of my life. The defense tried to break him, accused him of lying to save his own career, of fabricating stories to cover up his own incompetence. But Banks didn't crack. You can call me a liar. You can call me whatever you want. But I know what I saw. And I know that staying silent makes me complicit. So I'm speaking now, even if it costs me everything. By day 8, Williams testified about the recording with Rodriguez, about his admissions, about the money. The jury listened with rapt attention. The defense tried to claim entrapment, tried to say Williams had manipulated Rodriguez into saying things that weren't true. But the recording was clear. Rodriguez's voice, Rodriguez's words, Rodriguez's laughter. On day 10, the prosecution rested. The defense began their case. They called character witnesses, officers who testified that Mercer was a good cop, that Hayes was dedicated, that Rodriguez was a mentor to young officers. They called use-of-force experts who said everything the defendants did was by the book. Legal. Justified. They called civilians who said they'd seen drugs in Elijah's car, saw him acting suspicious outside the school. The prosecution tore them apart on cross-examination, showed they'd been paid to testify, showed their stories were fabrications. But still, the doubt was there. Reasonable doubt. The jury's faces showed it. On day 14, both sides gave closing arguments. Warren went first. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is overwhelming. Video, testimony, financial records, a pattern of corruption spanning years. The defendants didn't make mistakes. They ran a criminal enterprise, and they deserve to be convicted. Chen countered. The evidence is circumstantial. The testimony is biased. The prosecution hasn't proven guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and without that certainty, you must acquit. The jury deliberated for 3 days. 3 agonizing days where Elijah couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't do anything but wait. On the 4th day, they sent a note. They had a verdict. Elijah sat in the courtroom, Marcus beside him, and waited as the jury filed in. None of them looked at the defendants. That was supposed to be a good sign. Judge Reeves addressed the foreperson. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. In the case of the People versus Mercer on the count of conspiracy to deprive civil rights, how do you find? Elijah held his breath. Guilty. The courtroom exploded. Mercer's face went white. His lawyer started objecting immediately. Order. Reeves banged her gavel. Order in this court. The verdicts continued. Guilty on all counts for Mercer. Guilty on all counts for Hayes. Guilty on all counts for Rodriguez. 5 of the 8 defendants convicted. 3 acquitted on some charges, convicted on others. It wasn't perfect, but it was justice. As the deputies led the convicted officers away in handcuffs, Mercer turned to look at Elijah. His expression was pure hatred. This isn't over, old man. But it was. At least this part was. Outside the courthouse, media swarmed. Questions flew. Elijah stood at the podium with Marcus beside him. Today justice prevailed, not because of me, not because of any one person, but because good people chose to stand up against corruption. Officer Williams, Officer Banks, everyone who refused to stay silent. Elijah looked at the cameras. This verdict sends a message. No one is above the law. No badge, no position, no amount of power makes you untouchable. And if you abuse your authority, you will be held accountable. Someone shouted a question. Judge Turner, what happens now? Now we work on reform, on making sure this never happens again, on building a system where truth matters more than power, where justice is real for everyone. Elijah smiled, tired but genuine. Now we rebuild. The rebuilding started the next morning. Elijah's phone rang at 6 a.m. It was Henderson. Judge, the DA's office is opening investigations into every case Mercer touched. That's over 200 cases spanning 12 years. They need someone to help review them. Someone who knows how to spot corruption in legal proceedings. They want me to consult. They want you to lead it. Head of the Conviction Review Unit. Temporary position. 6 months. Maybe longer if needed. Elijah looked at Marcus, who was already awake reading news coverage on his tablet. Can I think about it? They need an answer by Monday. But Judge, this is important. People are sitting in prison right now for crimes they didn't commit. You could free them. After Henderson hung up, Marcus looked at his father. You're going to say yes. Am I? You've been fighting for justice for 40 years. You're not going to stop now just because you won one battle. Marcus smiled. Besides, Maya's coming home next week. You need something to keep you busy, or you'll drive Celeste crazy hovering over her. Elijah couldn't help but smile. When did you get so smart? I learned from the best. That Monday, Elijah accepted the position. By Wednesday, he was sitting in an office downtown, surrounded by case files. Each one represented a life derailed, a family destroyed, years stolen. The first case he reviewed was the 19-year-old with the college scholarship, Anthony Martinez. Arrested by Mercer 18 months ago. Cocaine in his glove compartment. Took a plea deal for 3 years because his public defender said fighting would mean 5 to 7 if he lost. Elijah read the arrest report. Identical language to his own, word for word. The plant had been just as clean, just as professional. He called the prison. Asked to speak with Anthony Martinez. Mr. Martinez, my name is Judge Elijah Turner. I'm reviewing your case. I know who you are. I saw you on TV. You're the one who took down the cops. I'm one of many. But yes, and I'm calling because I believe you're innocent. I believe Officer Mercer planted evidence on you, just like he did to me. Silence on the other end. Then quietly, I told everyone. My lawyer, the judge, my family. Nobody believed me. They said I was lying. That all criminals say the cops planted it. I believe you, and I'm going to get you out. Anthony's voice broke. Soon. I'm filing the motion today. If everything goes right, you could be home within a month. Anthony started crying, not loud, just quiet tears of relief mixed with disbelief. I lost everything. My scholarship, my future, my girlfriend left me. My mom got evicted because she used all her money on my defense, and nobody cared. Nobody listened. I'm listening now, and I promise you, we're going to make this right. Elijah worked through 73 cases over the next 4 weeks, 73 lives to rebuild. Some were easier than others. Clear evidence of tampering. Witnesses who recanted when they learned about Mercer's conviction. Cases that fell apart the moment someone looked closely. But some were harder. Evidence destroyed. Witnesses disappeared. People who'd served their full sentences and just wanted to move on didn't want to relive the trauma, even for exoneration. By late November 37, people had been released from prison. Charges dropped. Records expunged. And while that was victory, Elijah couldn't shake the weight of the other 36 still waiting. Still hoping. Still trusting him to save them. He came home exhausted every night. Marcus worried. Celeste worried. Even Maya, now back home and safe, noticed. "Papa, you look sad." "Not sad, sweetheart, just tired." "Are you still fighting bad guys?" Elijah pulled her onto his lap. "I'm trying to help the people the bad guys hurt. That's harder sometimes than fighting the bad guys themselves." "Why?" "Because hurting someone takes seconds. Healing them takes years." Maya thought about that seriously. "But you're doing it anyway." "I'm doing it anyway." "That's because you're a hero, Papa." Elijah kissed the top of her head, feeling the words settle uncomfortably. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man trying to plug holes in a dam that was already crumbling. In December, Lieutenant Jenkins requested a meeting. He was the principled lieutenant Banks had mentioned early on, the one who'd protected young officers from retaliation. They met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. Jenkins was in his 50s, gray at the temples, with the look of someone who'd seen too much but refused to become cynical. "Judge Turner, thank you for meeting me." "What can I do for you, Lieutenant?" "It's about Officer Banks. He's been cleared to return to duty. Medical leave is ending. But he's terrified." Jenkins stirred his coffee. "He thinks the moment he comes back, the remaining gatekeepers will find a way to hurt him. And honestly, he might be right." "How many are left?" "We got 7 of them. But there were more, always are. People who looked the other way. People who benefited but didn't directly participate. They're still there, still protecting their interests." "What do you want me to do?" "Help me protect him. Help me create a system where whistleblowers don't get destroyed for doing the right thing." Jenkins leaned forward. "Judge, you have credibility. You have the public's attention. If you push for reform for legal protections, people will listen. You want me to write policy. I want you to help write a law. Real legislation that protects officers who report corruption. That creates independent oversight. That makes what happened to Banks impossible to repeat." Elijah thought about Trevor Banks, about his courage, about how close he'd come to death for choosing truth. "Okay, let's write a law." They called it the Turner Act. Not Elijah's choice, but Henderson insisted the name would help it pass. The legislation created 3 main protections: mandatory independent investigations for all corruption allegations, legal immunity for officers who report misconduct, and criminal penalties for retaliation against whistleblowers. It also required all police departments to use tamper-proof body cameras with footage stored on independent servers. Simple, straightforward, and opposed by nearly every police union in the state. The fight took 3 months: lobbying, testimonies, public hearings where Elijah stood before state legislators and made his case. This isn't about punishing good cops. It's about protecting them. Because the good cops, they're the ones who suffer most under corrupt systems. They're the ones forced to choose between their conscience and their careers. The Turner Act gives them a third option: do what's right and be protected for it. The police unions called it an attack on law enforcement. The politicians worried about looking anti-police. The bill stalled in committee. Then Trevor Banks testified. He walked into the state capitol still wearing bandages, still moving slowly, but his voice carried through the chamber. "I'm Officer Trevor Banks. I was beaten nearly to death for reporting corruption. I lost my career, almost lost my life, and I'd do it again, because staying silent would have cost me something more important than my job or my safety. It would have cost me my humanity." He paused, looked at each legislator. "You have a choice today. You can protect officers like me who want to do the right thing. Or you can protect a system that punishes truth and rewards corruption. But understand this: if you choose the system, you're telling every good cop out there that their integrity is worth less than political convenience. And when they stop speaking up, when they stop fighting corruption because they know you won't protect them, don't act surprised when the next scandal breaks." The bill passed by 1 vote. March 15, 2026, 5 months after the trial ended. Elijah sat in the gallery and watched the final tally come in. Watched the governor sign it into law 3 days later, and felt something shift inside him. This was what justice looked like. Not revenge, not punishment, but change. Real systemic change that would outlive him. The media wanted interviews. Award ceremonies were planned. The NAACP wanted to give him their highest honor. The Bar Association wanted to name a scholarship after him. Elijah declined everything. Why? Marcus asked. Dad, you deserve recognition. You fought for this. You won. I didn't fight for recognition. I fought because it needed to be done. Elijah looked at his son. And honestly, I don't want to be the face of this movement. I want the people who suffered to be the face. Anthony Martinez, Trevor Banks, all the others who actually paid the price for this justice. So what do you want? Elijah thought about Maya, about her question weeks ago, about what he wanted his legacy to be. I want to talk to kids. I want to go to schools and tell them what justice really means. Not the fairy tale version where good always wins, but the real version where doing right costs something and you do it anyway. The following week, Elijah visited Lakewood Elementary, the same school where he'd been arrested. The principal was hesitant at first. Judge Turner, I appreciate what you've done, but some of our parents are still uncomfortable. They remember the arrest, the accusations. Even though you were vindicated, I understand. But that's exactly why I should come. Because those kids saw me in handcuffs. They saw me accused. They need to understand what happened, why it happened, and what came after. The principal agreed to a single assembly. 5th and 6th graders, about 200 kids. Elijah stood in front of them, no podium, no notes, just himself. My name is Elijah Turner. Some of you might remember me from a few months ago. I was arrested right outside this school. Hands shot up. He pointed to a girl in the front row. Were you a bad guy? No, but the officer who arrested me thought I was. Or at least he pretended to think I was. He planted drugs in my car to make it look like I was a criminal. Another hand. A boy with glasses. Why would a policeman do that? That's a great question. Why do you think? The boy thought for a moment. Because he was mean. Partly, but also because he thought he could get away with it. Because he'd done it before and nobody stopped him. Because the system protected him instead of the people he hurt. An older girl raised her hand. But you stopped him. I had help, lots of help. From brave officers who told the truth. From lawyers who fought for justice. From people like you who paid attention and demanded better. Elijah walked among them. Here's what I want you to understand. Justice isn't something that just happens. It's something we make happen. Every day, every choice. Every time you stand up for someone being treated unfairly. Every time you tell the truth when lying would be easier. A small voice from the back. But what if standing up is scary? Elijah found the boy who'd spoken. Maybe 8 years old. Shy. It is scary. It was scary for me. Standing in handcuffs in front of my granddaughter. Going on trial. Having people call me a liar. It was terrifying. But you did it anyway. But I did it anyway. Because being scared isn't the same as being wrong. Sometimes the right thing is scary. And you do it scared. He spent an hour with them. Answering questions. Telling stories. And at the end a little boy approached him. Mr. Judge, my shoe's untied and I don't know how. Elijah looked down. The boy couldn't have been more than 6. Probably a younger sibling brought along for the assembly. Come here, buddy. He knelt down his knees protesting, started tying the shoe. The simple double knot his mother had taught him 70 years ago. There you go, you're all set. Thanks, Mr. Judge. The boy ran off. And Elijah stood there watching him go, feeling something profound settle in his chest. This was legacy, not verdicts, not laws, not awards or recognition. But this small moment, this connection, this simple act of helping someone who needed it. Marcus found him there standing in the empty gymnasium after the kids had left. You okay, Dad? I'm good. Really good. Elijah turned to his son. You know what I realized? What? I spent 30 years on the bench trying to be impartial, objective, above it all. But that's not where justice lives. Justice lives in the small moments, in choosing to help, in choosing to see someone's humanity even when the system says you don't have to. So what now? Now I keep doing this. Keep talking to kids. Keep reviewing cases. Keep helping where I can. Elijah smiled. Not as a judge, not as some symbol, just as a person who believes we can be better. They walked out together. Outside, a reporter was waiting. Judge Turner, can I ask you a few questions about the Turner Act? The Turner Act isn't about me. It's about protecting the Trevor Bankses of the world. The officers who choose right over easy. That's the story, not mine. But you're the one who made it happen. No, I'm just the one who didn't give up when it would have been easier to stay quiet. Elijah looked at the camera. Everyone has that choice, every day, to speak up or stay silent, to fight or accept. And the beautiful thing, you don't need to be a judge or a lawyer or anyone special. You just need to decide that truth matters more than comfort. 6 months after the trial, Elijah received a letter. It was from Anthony Martinez. Judge Turner, I'm out. I'm free. I got my scholarship back. I start classes in the fall. My mom got a new apartment. We're rebuilding. And it's all because you believed me when nobody else did. I don't know how to thank you, except to promise I won't waste this second chance. I'll make it count. I'll be the man you saw in me even when I couldn't see it myself. Elijah read the letter 3 times, then called Marcus. Remember when you asked me what I wanted, what my legacy should be? Yeah. Letters like this, lives rebuilt. That's what I want. Then you're getting it. The DA's office said they've processed 42 exonerations from your reviews. 42 people free because of you. Because of us. Because of everyone who refused to accept corruption as normal. That summer, Trevor Banks returned to duty. Not as a patrol officer, but as a community liaison. Working with schools. Building trust. Showing kids that not all cops were like Mercer. Williams got promoted to sergeant. Used her position to push for more reforms, more transparency, more accountability. Henderson retired saying he wanted to end on a win, and Elijah kept working, kept fighting. Not for recognition or legacy, but because the work mattered. 1 year after his arrest, Lakewood Elementary invited him back. Not for an assembly, for a more permanent honor. They'd renamed the library, the Elijah Turner Reading Room. Elijah stood at the ceremony, looking at the plaque, feeling uncomfortable with the attention. I don't deserve this. The principal smiled. You're right. You deserve more. But this is what we can give. A reminder to every child who walks through these doors that justice is possible, that standing up matters, that one person choosing truth can change everything. Maya ran up, hugged his leg. Papa, you have a library? I suppose I do. Can we read there? Every day if you want, sweetheart. They went inside. Elijah sat in a small chair, Maya on his lap, and read her a story about a brave mouse who stood up to a lion. As he read, other children gathered around, listening, learning, and in that moment Elijah understood what redemption really meant. Not erasing the past, not forgetting the pain, but transforming it into something that helps others. Using his experience, his platform, his voice to make sure what happened to him never happened to anyone else. When the story ended, the children clapped. Elijah stood, his knees aching, feeling every one of his 73 years, but also feeling more alive than he had in decades. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Dad, phone call. It's the governor. He wants to talk about expanding the Turner Act statewide. Elijah looked at his son, at his granddaughter, at the children gathering around for another story. Tell him I'll call back. I'm busy right now. Doing what? Something important. He sat back down, opened another book, And as he read about dragons and heroes and the triumph of good over evil, Elijah Turner understood that this right here was the victory that mattered most. Not the verdict, not the law, not the recognition, but the legacy of hope. The knowledge that justice, real justice, begins with one person choosing to see another person's humanity. Choosing to help when helping is hard. Choosing truth when lies would be easier. And maybe, just maybe, teaching the next generation to make those same choices. Not for glory, not for rewards, but because it's right. And that Elijah thought as he turned the page is what integrity looks like. Simple, quiet, enduring. A man tying a child's shoe under the afternoon sun. No cameras, no applause, just love, just service, just justice. And that was enough. That was everything.